So I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
A remarkable accomplishment and a political comeback for the ages. The only other president in US history to win a second term after losing his first bid for re-election was Grover Cleveland in 1892.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
You better run, cops!
Donald Trump was all but written off as a future candidate following the January 6 Capitol riot, including by the editorial board here at the Wall Street Journal.
The bill is passed.
But Democrats helped to revive him with their one-sided January 6 investigation and their partisan use of lawfare.
These are felony crimes in New York State, no matter who you are.
No one is above the law.
The courage Mr. Trump showed following the first assassination attempt was also a defining moment on the campaign, following which Mr. Trump accepted his party's nomination.
He's here tonight to show his courage.
3.5 months later,
and I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
Mr. Trump's victory wasn't as close as polls suggested. He won back states that he lost in 2020, and he did so with a coalition that included more young people and more black and Hispanic men.
My whole soul is in this, bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation.
Mr. Trump won again because President Biden failed to deliver the unity and prosperity that he promised, and because over 4 years, voters have soured on the results of his progressive policies.
I'll be reaffirming the federal government's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mr. Biden veered left to unite Democrats rather than unite the country. He put Elizabeth Warren in charge of his regulators and Nancy Pelosi in charge of his agenda for the first 2 years on Capitol Hill.
I think the compromise that they came up with, if implemented, will make Biden the most progressive president since FDR.
The result was a decline in real wages as inflation soared, a divisive cultural agenda driven by identity politics, chaos at the southern border, and the collapse of American deterrence abroad.
This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.
And exit polls showed that the economy in particular was Mr. Trump's best issue. Yes, the affluent, those with assets, have done well during the Biden years, but most Americans, those who depend on wages and salaries, have fallen behind.
I get $40 worth of groceries, and I'm like, what did I just get for $40?
Interest rates are high. It's hard for families.
Democrats tried a late course correction by pushing Mr. Biden out of the race when it became clear that he would lose, and it almost worked.
We need Kamala Harris, the president of joy.
Kamala Harris tried to pitch herself as a new way forward, but she couldn't escape her 4-year association with Mr. Biden.
We will build what I call an opportunity economy.
In the end, she failed to persuade people that she was up to the job of president in a world of growing geopolitical danger.
While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
Given these fundamentals, Republicans had the political advantage, and it's possible a younger GOP nominee without Mr. Trump's baggage may have won an even bigger victory. Exit polls show that the threat to democracy and Mr. Trump's character were Democratic advantages.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
But Democrats overplayed their hand even here, with comparisons to Hitler and fascism that simply weren't believable. Now attention turns to whether Mr. Trump can govern more successfully in a second term than he did in his first. He's already secured a working GOP majority in the Senate, which will help with the confirmation of his cabinet nominees and judges. But he'll have to choose carefully because his nominees will have to pass muster with what we'll call the McConnell caucus, as in Mitch McConnell, the Kentucky senator who will no longer be GOP leader and probably won't run for re-election in 2026.
The filibuster will stand. There won't be any new states admitted that give a partisan advantage to the other side, And we'll quit beating up the Supreme Court every time we don't like a decision they make.
One way to quickly lose any goodwill that his victory has earned him is if Mr. Trump makes a priority of seeking revenge on his opponents. Same too if he focuses on responding to every critic who insults him. Perhaps he could set the right tone by promising to pardon Hunter Biden when he comes to office and vowing not to prosecute Joe Biden.
If possible, we will work with his administration.
Rather than adopting the kind of rhetoric New York's Attorney General used following Mr. Trump's second triumph.
We use the rule of law to fight back, and we are prepared to fight back once again.
He should rise above it.
My plan will rapidly defeat inflation, quickly bring down prices, and reignite explosive economic growth.
The overriding policy message from the exit polls is that Mr. Trump needs to keep his eye focused firmly on economic growth. And he outlined some of his plans at the Economic Club of New York back in September.
We will eliminate a minimum of 10 old regulations for every one new regulation.
He has a mandate to repeal electric vehicle mandates and the climate commands of the Inflation Reduction Act.
We have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country, including Russia and Saudi Arabia. We'll be using it.
Above all, he needs growth with low inflation that raises incomes, especially for American households that don't have stocks or own their own home.
My plan will cut energy prices in half or more than that within 12 months of taking office.
Extending the pro-growth planks of his 2017 tax reform and deregulation to unleash business investment will be crucial.
I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms.
Most second terms fail, but then Mr. Trump's is unlike any other in more than a century.